Hello, everybody. How is the interweb doing today? Woo! Normally, this is where you would say fine or great, whatever, but I guess chat can tell us some stuff here. Professor Shinobi says hello in all caps. That's
Oh,
intensity.
professor. Is he one of the regional professors? Is he going to be a starter Pokemon?
I'm a tree called Shinobi. Anyway, hello, Nebraskon. As you've probably guessed by now, I'm Tony, and with me today is.
I'm Patrick.
You probably guessed that by now too. Anyhow, we're here to talk about Digimon for the next hour. Or, sorry, Pokemon for the next hour. Pay me enough for Digimon. They don't pay me at all. That's okay. Anyway, today's panel is a panel about love. It's about heartbreak. A few years ago, I went through a bit of a divorce, you see. I picked up Pokemon Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. And I've been playing Pokemon since Red, Blue, and Yellow, and I realized, Pokemon, I don't love you anymore. We've grown apart, we've drifted. And I just wasted $50 on a game that I'm not going to play past the first 5 minutes. And ever since then, it's been a downward spiral where my booming love for Pokemon just slowly fizzled out and we went our separate ways. And then Sword Shield came back, and like many broken down relationships, it insisted that it can change, baby. It can change. And I looked at it, and sometimes you can just tell, like, you haven't changed at all. In fact, you've gotten worse. And I pushed it away. And then about a month ago, I played it anyway. So anyhow, this is going to be our tale, Patrick and mine, about Pokemon, mostly the video game franchise. If anyone has anything to say, we're going to try our best to look at the Twitch stream, chat, whatever. This is new to us, so yeah.
Distracted looking at it. Like, that's what I'm doing.
So we'll try it. So looks like everyone can hear us, it seems, so that's good, I think. All right, well, just to start off, again, Patrick and I both played Pokemon Red Blue way back circa 1997, right? I think.
Numbers aren't real. Yeah, late 90s.
Yeah, late 90s.
98.
Yeah, 98. I don't know. Whatever makes us seem less old. Pokemon was the kind of game that it connected with me. It was an RPG. I'd been hard in RPGs for several years. It had that collectible niche to it. The beautiful Ken Sugimori artwork that adorned the instruction manual and most of the original game guide art. Absolutely adored it. I love the idea of bringing these creatures with me everywhere I went, literally, both in the game and figuratively, literally with my pocket. It was the coolest thing. And then this 25-minute commercial came on TV called Pokemon the Series. Just like, wow, it's just like the thing I do in real life, but with the pretty pictures.
I had never played any RPG before, so I booting up the game. I was legitimately confused because I'd only played side-scrolling action games. I'm like, wait, I can go down and left and up and what am I jumping over? Oh, ledges. You jump over ledges. Anyway, it was a whole new thing, and it's still the only RPG series that I routinely play, or at least did, and hope to be able to continue to play once they kind of get their stuff together. Let's hope.
And the first game left a huge impact on me, and I've been playing more complex RPGs. And things that would become famous, like Final Fantasy VII, Legend Dragoon, and Super Mario RPG, Chrono Trigger, all these titles behind me. And yet Pokemon, as simple as it was, it really gave a whole new look on RPGs to me and how a story could be told with very minimalistic details. Not that it was a great story, it was just a story. It didn't have to be anything complicated. The world didn't have to be ending. In fact, the main plot is some mafia dudes are just taking people's pets. Can you stop them and get some badges?
We've got a report of an echo. How bad is that?
I'm gonna just
Long hair.
reduce my volume on the laptop. We'll see. Oh, I muted you. Okay, Patrick, try talking.
Hello. Well, yes. The reason I have long hair is because it's dangerous to go outside.
It's trendy, not going outside. It's a popular trend these days.
So And plus, I don't know.
Yeah, actually.
But yeah, I don't know. Is the Echo like better now? People, I don't know.
Yeah, if the Echo's better, let us know.
Yeah.
Okay, they say yep. Cool, fantastic. Let's get this on the road. So anyhow, flash forward a couple years, we have Pokemon Gold Silver, and it was everything the first game was, but better and bigger. It was a whole new place to see, as the theme song may have suggested. It was
an ideal sequel.
The game was retooled, rebalanced, still not a balanced game, but more balanced than its predecessor. We had the dark types to balance out the psychics, the steels to be extra cool and robotic-like, and you beat the game, and all of a sudden they're like, hey, remember that first game you really liked? Go back and do it again, but in a fun, brand new way. Amazing stuff. Hey, what happened to Red and Blue? Ever wonder if they became, powerful or got a job? Find out. And, Gary becomes the gym leader, or Gary Blue, whatever. And Ash is a hobo in a mountain.
Yeah.
Stuff. And every Pokemon game brought something new. A new roster of Pokemon. Hits and misses, but usually hits in my book. Patrick, I think you feel pretty much the same way.
Yeah. Say that with each gen, there's usually more Pokemon that I like than ones that I don't. There are a couple of trends that I could harp on, especially with starters that I find to be very unpleasant. But like looking at each gen as a unit, I'm like, yeah, most of these are great.
And then third gen, for those who remember it, like before we had Fire Red, Leaf Green, all of a sudden half your roster was missing. But they had a bunch of new Pokemon, but it's like, where's my Dragonite? Where's my Snorlax? No, not Slacking. Where's Snorlax? And as a gamer who was a fan of the original games, I was a little distraught. And I couldn't transfer my Gen 1 or 2 Pokemon over. And, I almost fell out of love with Pokemon there. But I stayed with it. Fire Red, Leaf Green came out. I'm like, okay, this is pretty nice. And then we had beautiful 4th gen. Diamond, Pearl, Platinum. Wonderful experience. Great games. And the franchise held me real tight. And skipping some smaller titles, we get to Black and White. Black and White was a weird one for Patrick and I both. We're not a big fan of the majority of the new Pokemon that showed up in it. However, the story of Pokemon Black and White was like the best story probably told to date in terms of how complex the issues were.
I've also come to really enjoy the music. The music
in that game good. But then, there are the remakes of Ruby Sapphire, and those were great, really well done, blows the GBA games out of the water. And Sun Moon happens. I'm sorry, XY. I say XY. XY. That franchise held me hard. I've always lightly done competitive Pokemon, but XY had cleaned up just enough of the quality of life issues. Not all of them, but just enough that could raise competitive teams. I went out of my mind insane trying to breed a perfect IV, perfect nature Furfrou.
I was there.
Who don't know what that is? It's a poodle Pokemon. You may or may not have noticed over the course of this convention that poodles might be important to me in some form or another. And Furfrou, the Pokemon, is white, but his Heart Gold, Soul Silver, the Heart Gold, Soul Silver, beautiful remix too, also better than the originals. For the chat there. Anyway, I went nuts trying to make this perfect Furfrou, but it couldn't just be a regular one. It had to be a shiny Furfrou. That 1 in 8,000 chance it would be shiny. So I went circles. What's that? It's changed. I don't remember what it is anymore. Long story short, I bred probably close to 500 Furfrous before I finally got one. And it was missing 1 point in, I think, attack from being perfect. And it was good enough. And I named it Shinobi after my beautiful dog. And it was black like he is. And it was a poodle. And how could Pokemon ever get any better, That's the way
as an endeavor by humans.
So then, before we get to Sun Moon, Patrick, you have anything to say before we...
About XY? Well, in general?
Yeah, or anything.
Yeah, I feel like in general there was like a sense of evolution with all of this. I mean, there were things I liked and didn't like each time, but for the most part, I feel like they were refining things. We had mechanical stuff like the physical special split, and then the further split between moves. For the most part, it felt like the series was being kind of polished up. You mentioned Heart Gold, Soul Silver; those were improvements. in addition to being just updates, they were also like just mechanically better and just really fun to play. And there was never a sense that things were going away. Temporarily, Pokemon would be removed from a region or from a dex, but you'd always have some way to get them back. And it was fun to watch the series kind of experiment with new mechanics. And it felt like a natural progression every time. Anyway.
So now we get to the kind of the tipping point in the franchise for us in Sun Moon. The record, I really like Sun Moon. The soundtrack in particular, I think, is one of Pokemon's best.
Also, Alolan Raichu is
absolutely. I love the regional variants when that became an official thing. Finally, we had sort of seen that with like the spiky notch-eared Pichu in 4th gen and some other things like that. The various different unknowns, but finally we had like official, like here's regular Meowth, one that you've known for years, and oh here's this other dark, sinister looking one. That's pretty awesome. Then it evolves and it looks hideous, but that's neither here nor there. Oh, we're still here, Patrick. Okay, I'm gonna move maybe the microphone around a bit more. Yeah, I unfortunately my headset broke, so I plan on wearing my fancy earbuds. But we'll just see if that fixes anything. All right. Anyway, the story and Sun Moon's fine. Like it's kind of like Kill la Kill sometimes, which is weird. But I like Lily's arc, and she develops into a full fleshed out character, which is great.
Yeah, and there's some great villains in that. I mean, you had Team Skull, who were not villains proper, and initially I was like, oh, these guys aren't very threatening. But like, because they kind of found their own place in the story, they ended up being really cool, fun characters, and then you had a much more sinister villain behind the scenes. It was really cool. Spoilers, I guess, for Sun Moon. But yeah, it felt like a cohesive story, and none of the characters felt completely wasted.
Yeah. Professor Kukui, who's the first Pokemon professor to just kind of redefine what it meant to be a professor, i.e. he was a luchador who didn't wear a shirt. And I was
really isn't that what I want to be.
Really down with that. Just the surfer dude professor, but also competent in both being a professor and a luchador, which was really important to me. Come from a Latino background, so you put a luchador mask on anybody, and I'm already sold.
Lucha, there's a whole Pokemon for that.
So something that we kind of glossed over with Black and White, which was super cool, even though we didn't necessarily enjoy the Pokemon in that game, like Garbodor or the ice cream cone. What was cool is it had a sequel, Black and White 2, and it reused, of course, the majority of the same assets from all the previous Pokemon games, but it had new Pokemon forms, a completely brand new plot. It revamped one of the legendaries, technically 3 of the legendaries. It was a cool experience. I didn't adore the game as much as Black and White, but it was a neat idea to directly sequel a Pokemon game, and we really hadn't seen a direct sequel since Gold Silver.
Gold Silver, and that was like 3 years on.
So yeah, that was fantastic. So then we have a new game that came out, not even a year after Sun Moon, maybe exactly a year, and it was Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. Now, part of this is my bad. The way I interpreted the ad campaigns for Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon is it was a Black and White 2. And all of the press was about Team Rainbow Rockets. Giovanni's back, and he's brought every team from the past with him. It was like a Power Rangers reunion, but with Pokemon characters. And of all the characters, it's the villains, and I'm a sucker for villains. So,
it's almost pathological.
Yeah, it's true. So all of a sudden, hello there, Taka the Squirrel. I bought the game, again, thinking it was a sequel because, that's what Black and White did. And I played the opening cutscene. I'm like, this looks really familiar. Is it recapping me on what happened in the previous games? Oh, hold up. There's a third team. Okay, this must be a different game. But then all of a sudden, the events play out. It's identical. It's the exact same game as before. And I realized, oh, this is just Pokemon Emerald, or Pokemon Yellow, Pokemon Platinum, Pokemon, you bought this already. We got you again, sucker.
Yep.
And hello, Space Danish. Oh, you've been here. Well, hello again, anyway. I put the game down upon realizing it. And I thought, okay, I'll do some research. Maybe the start it's similar. I'm lying to myself. Like any broken relationship, you tell yourself a lie. That's, hold on, maybe there's a different side of the story. Maybe I misinterpreted the signals. So, talked to some friends who had played the game, went online, looked around, trying to avoid major spoilers in case there was something new, and I realized that all the cool new stuff was after you beat the game. Again. And I just said no. I put it back in its box. I should have sold it, taken it back to wherever I bought it from, said, this game's defective. It's the same as the last one I bought. That wouldn't be a lie necessarily. And from there, I realized that it wasn't just the fact that I was being forced to replay a Pokemon game that took me out of the moment. I kind of just fell in love with Pokemon. I loved the characters. Jesse James, probably Pikachu, I guess. The concept of the world. I loved watching some of not the anime series is cool, but it's too long for me to keep up with. But all the Pokemon shorts, like Pokemon The Origin, fantastic. Pokemon someone help me, the shorts that came out like a year or two ago that were really good.
They're all good.
Are really good.
I love the X and Y one with the haunted house.
Yeah, that one's so good. That one's so good. So I didn't completely forfeit my love for Pokemon. It's just that I knew I couldn't play the games for a while. I thought, okay, Pokemon burned me this time. I'm going to wait till the next Pokemon game gets announced. To my heartbreak, it was announced not on a normal handheld system. It was announced for the Switch.
Were any of those shorts called Twilight Wings? We've got a suggestion.
Probably. I'm actually blanking on the name. I honest to goodness can't remember what they were called. But they were really, really good.
Apparently it was good.
It seems to be Twilight Wings, which, yes, if that's what I'm thinking of, then they were excellent. And again, I knew I hadn't lost complete faith in Pokemon because Detective Pikachu was really good. I wanted a lot more. It was so good. But then Sword Shield came out on a system I didn't own. Now, I have purchased repeatedly systems for games that I love. Whenever Disgaea gets announced for a platform, I buy it. When Monster Hunter gets announced for a platform, I usually buy it. Pokemon, up until this point, I'd always bought the next Nintendo system if Pokemon was going to be exclusive to it. But then I thought, okay, I got burned pretty bad. I'm going to look at like trailers and some dev notes. Let's see what we get. Patrick, do you recount what it was like watching the first trailer and how you felt about that?
I mean, like, there was, oh, cool, they're doing England. I really like England. I like the music in the trailer. But then, like, the more you look at it, like, and by the time it's over, all I could think was, like, geez, I hope this isn't, like, done. How much time is left for them to, like, finish this thing? Because this does not look like a finished game. And, you know, that was just graphical stuff. And I don't expect extreme graphical fidelity from Pokemon, especially on their first, like, console outing. But in this particular instance, I just thought, wow, like, there's so many cool ideas that exist. Why does this look so, like, flat? Like to me, at the time, looked less complete than Let's Go Pikachu. I almost said Hey You Pikachu. Let's Go Pikachu.
Also,
I had picked up just to kind of see what they were going to do with the next gen. I borrowed it because, like, yeah, to me it was like, oh, they practiced with Let's Go because Game Freak hasn't done console games before to kind of get their sea legs and figure out what they were going to do. And then the next gen is going to be on Switch and it's going to be more polished, but it looked somewhat less so in a lot of ways. So yeah, I mean, there was like this nervous, like, oh boy, I hope they don't mess this up kind of feeling at the end of that trailer.
And then more news came in, and it was already announced that all 721 or 3 Pokemon that had previously shown up in the games, that not everyone would be joining the party.
I will say, to me, the Dex Cut was like never a big deal, because I thought your best with the game. This is a time in like the history of video games where you can add stuff after the fact pretty easily. So I know that was like a big problem for people really early on, like something people were having big fights about on the internet. But I was just like, if that's what they need to do to make this game like fun and complete and exploratory and engaging, then by all means cut some Pokemon out. There's so many of them. Just pick the ones that fit the region or whatever the story is, and make it work.
See, I was less optimistic. I saw that cut, and I thought to myself, one, as a person who breeds competitive teams, and I always buy whatever peripheral you need to transfer them to the next gen, which I was willing to do again if need be. I felt, one, a little burned. It's like, okay, all that time and effort I put into these games, sure, the like held items can't come with you, your potions can't come with you, but your Pokemon always could. Sometimes they'd be stamped via a mechanic of the game where they couldn't be let into like official Nintendo tournaments. But I just
wanted
the
problem. Right?
But
like GBC.
What hurt me the most, and it wasn't again that my old team couldn't come with me, because you know what? I guess my red, blue, yellow, gold, silver, crystal team couldn't come with me after second gen. However, I thought to myself, wait, so these Pokemon are missing, right? Is there going to be DLC? Are they going to make me pay to get Dragonite back? Are they going to make me pay to get a whatever is missing from the game? I forget what was missing because it was a lot.
It was a lot.
It wasn't Garbodor, I'll tell you that much. It wasn't Garbodor.
It's not the worst. It's just bad.
And the idea of having to finally pay money as DLC for a game that I already bought, that's Pokemon, after a legacy over 20 years of just you buy a new game, and all of a sudden it's like buy the game but buy it again, not a different version again, just buy it again to get some more stuff. We have your friends.
That's like expect the DLC to cost so much. I mean, that too.
Now, before we go any further, I'll say this much: I haven't played Isle of Armor, and I forget if the new one's out. I haven't played either. I don't want to give Game Freak and Nintendo $80 right now for Pokemon. I did play Shield. I played Shield. A friend of mine loaned me his copy. My brother loaned me his Switch, specifically so I could just finally say, okay, Tony, you're hating this game so much. Let's actually play it before you start talking crap about something you don't know actually what it is. Because, I didn't. From the beginning, a lot of assets, as you travel through the region, kind of have to teleport in. Which, older game design, yeah, that makes sense for like larger 3D games. Super Mario 64 is guilty of that. Most games have that to some degree. But these are things that are like 5 feet in front of you where the game doesn't render them in time. Or how the Pokemon just kind of emerge from their hellhole in the ground and burst through and, oh, hi. And sometimes they render so slowly, if you're on a bicycle, they just spawn below you. If you happen to be in their trajectory. But the music in the game is good. Really enjoy the music.
I like this theme a lot. Very creative use of instruments, like the howling wolf sound for the melody. That's weird and cool.
Yeah. Young Mikazuki here says Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra are the best parts of Gen 8. And if they'd been included with the original game, that it would have been the best Gen ever made. And I have a friend who told me that, like, at least the competitive scene with both DLCs are excellent. And that I don't have time for the competitive scene in Pokemon anymore, but that at least warms my heart to know. But again, I don't pay $80 more to enjoy a game when $60 hypothetically wouldn't have made me feel happy. So playing the game, Patrick and I both, it was hard for us to connect to this particular generation. We got our hopes up real high for the wild area. For those who haven't played the game, it's a massive, expanding, like, wild park where you free roam. And you can actually move the camera around you like a real game. And you can fight Pokemon who are 10, sometimes 60 levels above you.
You can look at them. And you run away.
Like, I actually had to carry a Poké doll, which, for those who don't know, you use it and you can just escape instantly without any damage. I had to carry one on me or have a Pokemon with a runaway ability just in case I fought something too strong. And I'm a huge fan of Monster Hunter World, which has these great expansive areas that you just seamlessly travel through, and it's a beautiful game. And I was kind of hoping that Pokemon on a smaller scale would give me that. And I made the mistake of opening up my map and wondering just how big this place is. And it's like, oh, it's actually kind of small. It's one large area, a skinny little corridor, and a slightly less big, but somewhat big area. And it's like, oh, wait, but look at all this unused map. Surely more of these zones will unlock as I go through the game. Because everyone's talking about how great the wild area is. Spoilers, that's it. And once you travel through it a couple of times, you realize how small it actually is.
And occasionally you'll see something that's like, oh man, that's a cool like structure or like formation or like a lake that's going to have some interesting things going on. Like best case scenario, you'll get some interesting Pokemon spawning in that area or some unique stuff there. But like you can't go in anywhere. There's so many things in Galar that work that way where you just see them from a distance and you either can't get close at all or you can walk right up to it and then do literally nothing with it. Like there's no sense of exploration even in the wild area. It's weird.
Yeah.
Like, X and Y did that so well. I was always finding new stuff in X and Y where I was like, what the hell is this? I've never gone on this part of the path before.
Yeah, and just the game itself, it's one really long corridor in general. You go into like a cave to get lost, and really it's just a very straight path. You turn right, and then you turn left, then you turn left again, then you go up a ladder. And
you're on the planet. Anyone who knows me will tell you this. Even I couldn't get lost in that cave. I actually tried because like I wanted to at least trick myself into thinking that there was something going on in there. But it's just a road. It's just like a dark route.
And then you get to like the cool steampunk castle, which the name of the town escapes me now.
London.
London. And it looks really cool. Like all these like castle-like towers, and they're like in the shape of like a dragon's wings. It's super cool looking. And it looks really big, but it's just basically a border, like a square-shaped border you travel through, and you go inside a bunch of houses that have no one in them, or an NPC that says, "I love Pokemon," and a conversation.
I do live here.
And this town, it looks like there's so much more you can explore. There's all these great like gated off areas you think might unlock later on. Maybe in the DLC they do something with that. I don't know. If anyone knows, let me know. I was just disappointed, despite how sprawling this city is. It's really small.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have the fairy town, the fairy gym town. Has these great glowing mushrooms, great landscape, a cute little forest you travel through, which is also like 5 feet long.
It was the first time I felt like they were actually using like the Switch to do something visually that would have been hard to do before. Just all those lighting effects and stuff.
Now, as Patrick alluded to earlier, we don't expect a lot from Pokemon visually in terms of pushing like their console's hardware. Back in Black and White, we got to the city that's got a giant bridge. And it's a 3D bridge, whereas the game is primarily 2D.
You get to this like actual geometric bridge.
Yeah, and we both recall freaking out. Whoa, the graphics are so good! As we glance over at the PS3. Oh wait, maybe not so good. But for Pokemon, it was really good.
You kind of expect them to be behind the curve a little bit, but.
And I've heard some people defend it, saying, "Okay, but it's a Switch game, guys. You can't expect like PS4 or Xbox One graphics." But then I look over, I'm like, "But that's Super Mario Odyssey. That's Zelda: Breath of the Wild."
Freaking Animal Crossing.
Yeah,
it's beautiful by comparison, and it's weird. Like that is in a similar boat where it's not a series that has ever been used to like push boundaries or like explore new frontiers with graphics, but like they have a style and they stick with it. But like with the newest Animal Crossing, like every new prop has like some cool textures or some just like there are reasons to look at things.
By the way, if anyone has any like questions or wants to say something, like by all means, like we're talking, so just feel free to say anything.
Dookie says the fairy town is criminally underused, which is
It's true. So for those who haven't played the game, imagine you go into this beautiful Dungeons and Dragons-esque elf town with giant glowing fungus, but pretty fungus, the good kind. There's like pixie Pokemon, fairy Pokemon rather, all over the town, just kind of floating around. You can't do anything with them. You're greeted by a Pokemon Center from your long, but not really that long, walk through the mushroom woods.
That's the thing. The game expects you to have a hard time with everything. Like the second you like do anything that requires you to actually play, they're like, "Oh my gosh, you must be injured. Here, have a bunch of items or a Pokestop, God, Pokemon Center." I had more fun with Go than this.
Or the camp, and you just cook for a minute, and then you full heal your party. But
I've never actually done that to heal. I just do it because it's fun.
I did to pet Growlithe a lot.
Yeah.
Mind you, I have Shinobi, trying to get my attention and slap the switch out of my hands. I'm like, no, I'm petting a dog, Shinobi. You can't help me with this. And I had to, reality check for a second there. This fairy town, you go there, and there's two houses. One, there's no purpose behind it. The other one, we'll get to that in a second. Then you're like, okay, cool. I'll go north, and there'll be a big sprawling mushroom town. Oh, that's the gym. Where's the rest of the town? There is no rest of the town.
Yeah.
And that particular gym, it's cute. So in this game, the gyms don't function exactly the same as traditional gyms. It's kind of like a weird combination of Sun Moon's like Olympics before you get to do the gym battle, or the totem/gym battle, or Kahuna battle. It's a combination of that and fighting a gym leader, where you do a series of different tasks, like you herd sheep in one of them, and you can fight trainers if you want, which I did because I want your money. Give me your experience and your money.
Battle is supposed to be fun, so
they're like, but you clear the puzzles. You don't have to fight. I'm going to fight you. Taking your wallet. Thank you.
I mean, that was also like Gen 1. If you get Blaine's quiz stuff right, you don't have to fight, but you can.
Balloonia, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, but like staring at that name and being like, do I want to try and say that out loud and get it and say it correct? I'm like, is it Balloonia or Bayon?
I used to host the cosplay contest, and I'm like, this is a name from a thing I haven't heard about. I'm just gonna smash some syllables together and hope they're close.
Professor Shinobi always with the puns.
Yes. And you get to this gym, and instead of like going through and doing a unique puzzle, you answer questions. It's like an interview to become the next gym leader, which no matter what you pick, you can't because it's a stacked deck. And if you get the answers right, you get like a battle buff, then you fight somebody, and you get like a permanent buff throughout the battle. So it's a cute gimmick, but it's already making the game much easier than it needs to be. If you get it wrong, you get a debuff. It's like, oh no, I'm still going to win. Or, oh no, I'll switch out and not have the debuff anymore. Oops. And then after 3 battles, you fight the gym leader. Now, in the town before Balloonia, whatever, there's this little girl you find. She's like, please, sir, take this letter to this guy in this other town. You're like, okay, yeah, that's what I do. Probably get out of it. Cool. So you go to the next town, which is you cross the 5-foot-long mushroom forest, and then you go into the fairy town. You take your first left, and there's a house there. You go inside, and if you just talk to the NPC there, he's like, oh, you have a letter for me? Somehow you just know. And he's like, wow, that's from my friend from 50 years ago. Maybe it was 30. Boy, we grew up together, and we were kids, but when we were kids, I had to move. I moved so far away, we couldn't see each other anymore. We were literally across the street. Too far to traverse, too dangerous.
It was like the story would have you believe that you just made this epic trek from one town to another when in fact you...
Now, they could have gotten away with it. I mean, people move. People move all the time. You lose track of your friends. Like, even people I knew that I grew up with who moved to Omaha when we were kids, I don't know where they are or who they are anymore. That happens. That's a 60-mile difference. But you walk 5 minutes. That's if you don't bike. If you bike, it's even shorter. And But we learn though that that little girl, again, she can't be a little girl because she was already dead. You go back to where she was, the NPC has vanished, and you get an Everstone for your troubles because
Yeah,
she was
that
perfectly
was.
preserved the way he remembered her. Maybe touching or horrifying. I'm not really sure which.
I appreciate stuff like that, and I wish there'd been more of those in Sword Shield, just because like these kind of weird little side mysteries that flesh out a region are always kind of fun.
Now, on that topic,
Kind of a one-off, and like it's the
now,
only NPC that really seems to give you anything to do apart from like story ones.
now before I get into the real deep stuff about what makes the game fall apart, there's so much Sword and Shield has going for it, and for everything it does right, there's two things that it manages to either fall short with or just absolutely disappoint completely. And we already talked about the wild area being this beautiful, sprawling area, except that it's actually really small and there's only one of it. Okay. Again, it succeeds, but it also kind of fails. One great thing, it's the personality that the gym leaders all have.
Yeah.
Every gym leader, the shared gimmick, except for one, is, oh, I have my last Pokemon. Oh no, whatever shall I do? Oh, I'm going to Dynamax or Gigantamax the Pokemon. And for those who haven't played, basically you turn your 3 foot monster into a skyscraper. Sometimes literally a physical skyscraper, depending on the Pokemon. And and then you in return can do the same thing with one of your Pokemon if you're choosing. And the way that it looks is they'll call back their Pokemon, pick up their Pokeball, and it gets bigger, 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 and it's like the size of a beach ball, and they have to hurl it behind them. Every gym leader does something different, unique and brand new. The fairy gym leader is an old lady, and you see her back give out. Now, it's not cartoonish, like, oh, I'm hurting my back. But she struggles, and her back gives briefly, and she chucks it, and she's back to normal. My favorite of all time is Raihan, the dragon trainer slash tamer. I think they call him a tamer at some point. And before you meet him, the game tells you that he has this weird proclivity for taking photos of sand. And it's like, isn't that weird? Cool, that's a quirk. I like that. They're building up a gym leader's personality before I even meet the guy. So that's really cool. Well, you fight the guy, and when it's time to Gigantamax, he calls back his Pokemon, and he has a Rotom phone. Your phone is Rotom. It's also your Pokedex. It's a lot of things. And it starts spinning around him, taking selfies. And he snaps a selfie, then he chucks the ball with all his might. But then once he tells his Pokemon to do its ultimate move, it creates a sandstorm. And the Rotom begins spinning around in a sandstorm, snapping shots, taking pictures of sand.
Yes, indeed.
The game never tells you. You know, the Rotom doesn't say, sir, it's just sand I'm taking pictures of. But it's just, you get that one-off line via, I think it's his trainer card, of all things. That you can just, it's an optional thing to read, and then you just observe his animation. And there's this character, like, quirk put into the game, which makes the character feel more real. And that's a great detail. But these animations, I'm praising the game for its great, like, character acting animations. But all of a sudden, we get to the actual, like, gameplay animations of, like, your character or the Pokemon. Patrick, yeah, you're probably more into this than I am. Care to dive into it?
Well, I mean, leading up to this, the idea of playing like a fully fledged Pokemon RPG on a console was really exciting to me, specifically because I had seen elements of that be handled really effectively in earlier games. You had HAL Laboratories knock it out of the park, technically 3 times in a row with the Stadium series. There's a lot of great animations in there. Battle Revolution, although it was kind of a weird, like, halfway there game, had some cool animations, and even like this gimmick that didn't really work, but the Pokemon would occasionally like make physical contact with each other during battle, which was cool. Let's see, there were other examples. There was Colosseum and Gale of Darkness, both of which were kind of prototypical, like full-on Pokemon RPGs on consoles. So I had kind of all that momentum building up to this, and I realized pretty quickly that they were just going to use like maybe 2 brief attack animations per Pokemon, and like a couple of others, like sending it out and calling it back and stuff like that. Because there are so many, I guess I get that, and that's part of why I was okay with the dex cut, because I thought they were going to put some work into creating new animations for the individual monsters. But they never actually did that, and the battle animations are so fast and so unnatural and usually pretty ugly. Like, I don't want to put a blanket on it because it's like some of them are good. You can't say that every single animation in the game is bad, but like, woof. Enough of them are there that I just at no point, like I felt more engaged by the sprites in terms of believing that I was like interacting with Pokemon. It's weird. They had this like a toolbox in front of them that they just decided not to use.
Now, on top of that, we have the trainer animations and the NPCs. In the post game, you and Hop or Hop, same person, but Hop. And for those who haven't played the game, Hop is basically his character model, and all his animations were outright taken from a character who's exactly the same from the previous game, from Sun Moon.
They gave him like some cool Britishisms.
Yeah, he speaks better.
Dialogue and
chin waggle. But Hop, there's a scene where you find these ancient relics that will help you call forth legendary doggos, a rusted shield and a rusted sword. And some other problems happen, and you lose them, and you have to go get them again. When you finally retrieve them, they're lying on the ground, and Hop's like, I'll be taking this back. He goes, doot, 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 walks over the sword, and the sword's gone, as if he had bent down to pick it up. And in the original like Game Boy games, whenever your little overworld map sprite would just walk over something and pick it up, like you would have like a potion, that made sense. Again, the game's not going to animate a bunch of itty-bitty sprites, especially from a bird's eye view of you picking things up. It could have, but it would have looked kind of weird. And frankly,
space in the Game Boy cartridge.
Honestly. But the fact that this fully fleshed out three-dimensional game in 2019, when it came out, doesn't bother with animations. Even your character has like a bend down, pick things up animation, which strangely that she hasn't, or they don't use it for for your item either. It just ends up making the game feel kind of cheap. When you have to turn, especially when Pokemon turn, they don't turn, their weight doesn't shift. It literally is this, like a turntable.
Yeah, they did that in Let's Go as well, and I thought, man, I hope they don't do that for the next real game. There are better ways to do this.
And I typically don't want to hold difficulty against Pokemon, because Pokemon games by default, by nature, are fairly easy.
Fine.
And usually, especially in more recent gens, they start you off with like experience share. Sometimes you can turn it off, sometimes you can't. But basically, you beat a Pokemon. In the old days, you see, when we had to beat a Pokemon, as was popular with the times, we knocked it out, and we got 100 experience points with your Pikachu. But your Squirtle and Charmander, they didn't participate, so they got jack. But if you were lucky enough to be in a double battle, then you only got 50 and the other one got 50 instead of 100. And, that's how Pokemon was. But now it's like, oh, they're just all going to get 100 across the board? It's like, okay, universal healthcare. I'm behind that. It's fine. So your team end up...
It's a very casual game. I'm a fairly casual game player.
And again, I'm not going to rip into Pokemon for that, but what was difficult for me, there's a Pokemon, the Mewtwo of this game. I do recognize that Mewtwo is also in the game, but the Eternatus, something like that. When you fight him, you are forced into the new mechanic, raid battles, where you and 3 other people gang up on a dude. Technically, it's each person throws out a Pokemon. But during this raid battle, you can't lose. The game is designed that if you faint, you revive, and you get infinite tries. And one of the NPCs, if it faints, the other one will restore it, or it comes back on its own. I don't know. I tried losing. I couldn't. I went in with underleveled Pokemon, tried my best to lose, and it's like, come on, here, let me take, oh, it's so hard, let me hold you by the hand. For those of you who played Kingdom Hearts Two, sometimes if you lost a battle, King Mickey would show up, and it was physically impossible to lose the game. Imagine if King Mickey was just with you the entire game. Now you can faint in Pokemon and still lose, but the game tries its best so that you don't.
I haven't for like my first playthrough of most of these lately.
The Magic Hat 77 says never played a Pokemon game, but it sounds like it has similar problems to a lot of the games these days. And that's true.
I don't really play much else. Part of this is so sad.
Yeah, I mean, there's never a consequence to fainting. Oh no, I lost half my money. I'll just go fight somebody and get it back. Or in Sword Shield, because of the wild area, you basically have infinite item pulls. The best way to explain it, you just grab things forever. Sword Shield, from a competitive standpoint, again, if I was into competitive Pokemon still, it's a godsend. In previous Pokemon games, the Pokemon have natures. And for those less informed on how natures work, basically you'll take a 10% dip in one stat and a 10% boost in a different one. Or you get a neutral nature with no change. You can change your nature now. It takes a bunch of work. If you have the DLC, then it's a lot easier. That's so cool. In Pokemon, there's a thing called IVs, individual values. They're a number from 0 to 31. Long story short, by the time you hit max level, you'll have anywhere from no points up to 31 bonus points added to a stat. You couldn't do squat about that with your Pokemon. If your Pokemon has a zero IV in like attack power, you better breed that out and hope the next generation does better. But in this game, you can also change that. It's so cool. And yet, playing the game, for me, it wasn't fun. It was slow. I had my roommate watching me do the post game right before, like a couple days ago, before this, this event, and it was slow. It was monotonous. The game forces you to backtrack. I mean, you can fly wherever you want, but you just revisit every area you've been to that's relevant. You have the same conversation with every single NPC. It's basically, there's a thing inside my gym. Can you get rid of it? I'm a gym leader, but I'm not good enough. And you're like, yeah, I guess I'll be the exterminator. Oh, but wait, don't catch it. That's my job. So you faint the Pokemon. And they're like, I took it for you. You're like, okay, fine. Then you go to the next thing, and it's a mess. But where this game ultimately falls flat, it's the story. Now, again, I realize I am talking about the narrative quality of a children's video game, or a game aimed at children, at least at face value. Red, Blue, basic story. Gold, Crystal, pretty basic story. Gen 3 gets a bit more complicated. Gen 4, at least the enemy schemes get more complicated. And but this game, the plot is you are a kid and you want to be a Pokemon trainer. Okay, standard fare. I'm on board. I too am a kid who wants to play Pokemon. And then it's like, oh, you got to get permission from someone, a sponsor, to go play Pokemon. All right. Oh, hey, there's the actual champion of the game, Lee. And Lee's like, hey, want to be a Pokemon guy? Cool. You, my little brother, want to be Pokemon guys. Go do that. And then you do that.
Official blessing.
I'm wondering, what the heck is the villain block? Like, okay. What are the villains doing? What's the plot? And there's a whole lot of nothing. Then you meet Chairman Rose, and he's like the president of the world, of the continent, the region rather. And he's like, I'm really friendly. But it's like, wait a minute. Okay, I know politics in video games.
In this movie,
really evil, but he seems so jolly. But then he's got Ophelia, his secretary. It's like, wait a minute. You're smarter than he is. I know plots. You're probably evil. And then nothing happens. And we're at our 10-minute mark, so in 10 minutes we'll be shifting gears to adaptation, Hollywood's take on anime. So stay tuned for that. Anyhow, the rest of the plot is go to gyms. There are these things called wishing stars that make your Pokemon turn big, or that help turn wild Pokemon grow big. There's a guy named Bede or Bede, I don't know.
Is the closest thing to like a real rival we've had in a long time. I like that.
Yeah. And his whole personality is, I am angry and I am the chosen one because my sponsor was Chairman Rose. Cool. I'm going to beat you up because you're weak. He loses. It was a fluke. I tripped. Comes back later on. I lost. Insert this a few more times. And then eventually it's like, I'm giving up. Okay, we'll see you later.
Well, doesn't he go to join the fairy gym?
Yeah, that's a thing for him to do. It just sort of happens. There's no character development. It just happens. So
I guess that
like you get to like the what would be the Elite Four, the final boss of the game. You know, so it's usually the champion will cap off the game. In this case, the champion is Lee, who's a super over-designed Pokemon battle sports ball enthusiast.
Charizard fan.
Definitely likes Charizard. And this bizarre plot twist. By bizarre, it's not even, it's I don't know, where, again, I have to actually think hard about this because it just happened. Like, Lee doesn't show up for lunch. And his brother Hop is like, wow, that's weird. My brother's never late for lunch. He really likes lunch because that's a character quirk we're making up now.
This person,
like, I know where we'll find him. We'll go to the top of a skyscraper. Big bro likes being on top of skyscrapers. And then I'm skipping a bunch of stuff, but the secretary says, stop. You see, I am evil, and I'm really freaking crazy. And it's like, okay. And then you fight. And she's like, oh, no, I'm not crazy. I'm just helping Chairman Rose. And I guess if you care about the plot of this game, it's not good, but this is your time to, like, duck out for 5 minutes.
Most of what we got left. So.
Yeah. So Chairman Rose basically says to Lee, it's time to do the evil, nefarious plan that will save the world. And Lee says, no, sir, we can't do that because sports ball tomorrow will be canceled, and I want to play sports ball. Sports ball. It's the championship fight because you have become the runner-up to fight him the next day, and he's looking forward to your battle. He's like Goku. He's really happy to fight you in a sports stadium where Pokemon battles take place.
Well, yeah, you can solve the world, but just wait till tomorrow. Have a really important game of Pokemon.
So Chairman Rose is like, you must understand, Lee. There's an energy crisis that will happen in 1,000 years from today. And Lee's like, no, not 1,000 years from today. But now, when I'm playing this game, there's a little bit of build-up to this energy crisis. And I'm thinking, okay, cool, Game Freak. Maybe you're going to do some allegory for climate change or scarcity of resources, the real-world problem. Good on you. Like, we haven't had a deep issue since Pokemon Black and White. How cool of you guys. But no, it's like all this infinite energy we have right now, I'm going to get more of it by blowing up the world. Essentially causing the Galar's energy source to erupt, all this Dynamax energy to burst from the ground, ruining civilization, but having unlimited power for at least another 1,000 years. And it's important. He's on board, but he's like, wait until tomorrow. Well, you show up, you beat up the president, and he goes to jail for being evil, I guess. You fight Lee, you beat Lee, and Lee's like, good thing that the president turned himself into jail because he was kind of a bad guy. And your character's like, sure was. Glad there's no other bad guys in this room in my immediate vicinity. Glad there's no other eco-terrorists with authority and status and money and wealth and good looks and you.
I'm supposed to be like, Lee's not going to do anything. He's too goofy. Because like they don't set him up as being particularly a good guy. So like all we've got to go on is the fact that he was okay with Rose's plan. And he likes Pokemon like that. That's it.
And then you get to the end of the game, the post game. You're the champion. You know, you show up back at your hometown. Lee leaves you a Charmander. He's like, hey, have fun with the Charmander. It'll get extra big later on. Okay, a 5-minute warning. then you meet the legendary dogs earlier in the game. They help you out, and they run off. This is the part of the game where it's like, oh, remember that legendary dog that's on the cover of the game? Let's go find it now. Cool. So you show up to this spot, go find your dog.
Simple.
Then the two worst characters, I think, in Pokemon history in terms of character design show up. Swordward and Shieldbert. One of them has like his hair is shaped like a shield, and the other one's hair, as you may have already guessed, is shaped like a sword, and it's like Marge Simpson height, and it flops in the wind like this. It doesn't billow, it just flops like rubber. And they're like, "Ah, we're the true kings of Galar. We will own the dogs. The dogs aren't real heroes. They save nobody. We'll prove it." Ah. So they run around committing acts of terrorism by trying to make gigantic Pokemon destroy gyms and towns. So you go destroy them. You get back to them. They say, "We'll prove who's right in battle. If we lose, then I guess you're right." "Oh no, we lost. Oh, shoot. I guess we were wrong after all. We'll go turn ourselves into jail now." And they walk off. You go get your dog. And your dog's like, "Woof." Like, cool, I have a dog with a sword in its mouth, or a shield, or whatever. And then they show up again, and they're like, "We're really sorry for all that stuff. We're going to go around all of Galar to every town and apologize for our wrongdoings. Okay, thanks, bye." They go. And like Lee's like, "Wait, aren't you supposed to be in prison?" And I'm like, "Wait, aren't you supposed to be in prison?" And then it says, "The end."
Your recap is more entertaining than the actual story in the game.
Gosh, they are like almost objectively some of the worst characters I think we have seen in Pokemon to date. Like counting movie villains, like weird villain plots, like Lysander. The world isn't beautiful. If I construct a laser, an ancient Pokemon laser that sucks the souls out of thousands of living creatures and shoots into the Earth's core, the world will be beautiful. Kind of random, but at least there's consequence. But in this case, it's just like, we're kings. These dogs took credit for our ancestors. Although the dogs might actually be our ancestors. We don't know. This game doesn't explain itself. So anyhow, Pokemon, I still love it. There's still great media. There's a music video that came out last month. Highly recommend it. I forget what it's called.
I don't remember either. But it is pretty.
Super pretty. Pokemon special music video gotcha from Bump of Chicken.
There it is.
It's excellent.
So there's clearly somebody like involved in Pokemon. There are multiple people probably who care and want to do it well. But
so
I hope that we get
for those
as time goes on.
So with our closing thoughts, for those of you who are on the fence about playing or purchasing Sword Shield, if you like Pokemon like at its most basic, it's Pokemon at its most basic. It's its greatest strength and it's its greatest weakness. It's as simple as red and blue, plus or minus a few new mechanics. The story is as bare bones as you can possibly get, almost confusing because of how straight it is. If you don't mind paying $120 for one game, double that if you want both versions, go for it. But I guess, Patrick, any closing remarks?
Just that I hope things improve. I hope the next actual main series RPGs are better. I'm not ready to give up on Pokemon in general just yet. I am looking forward to this Snap sequel being developed by not Game Freak. And I forget who it is now. They look like they've got some chops to them. It's not like a major studio. I forget who. But it looks nice, and I look forward to playing it. All
right, so folks, thanks for joining us here. Up next, we have a great panel about adapting anime into movies, live action specifically, I believe. And please come catch us again for closing ceremonies at about 12:25, 12:30. We have our ending ceremonies video, which has the exciting conclusion to our opening ceremonies video. Will Patrick be rescued? Will nothing happen at all? Find out, and we'll have a great send-off from our staff.